What is up, everybody? Welcome into the Vendetta Sports Media NBA preview. Matt Hanifan, Jerry Walker, and we have the Houston Rockets coming up for you. Matt, how you doing?
Doing all right, man. I'm doing all right. How about yourself?
No complaints. Love it that the NBA season's right around the corner. Looking forward to all of the teams. One of them that's going to be interesting, though, is the Houston Rockets. Obviously, a lot of talk about their second leading scorer from last year, Kevin Porter Jr., and all that ongoing stuff in the past week. He's no longer there. Went to OKC, was waived. So now it's the Jalen Green show.
Yeah.
What happened last year for him? Jalen Green obviously had his stuff, but it wasn't overall a successful season for the Rockets.
No, this last year was awful for them. 22-60. They were one of the worst teams in the league. They didn't have any kind of structure offensively or really defensively. It felt like every other press conference, Steven Silas was getting mad at their defense or he was getting mad at something. And there wasn't just a lot of accountability with this team. It felt like it was a lot of me instead of let's play team basketball. And yeah, last year was awful. But they had a much better offseason. Let's just say that.
Yes, they did. I mean, it's hard to have a worse offseason when looking at it. They went 2-12 in January, 1-10 in February. So what? That's 3-22 over a 2-month stretch. Absolutely,
it was awful.
Absolutely brutal for them last year. It was
awful.
I expected very little from Houston, and I was still shocked at how bad it was.
There were times where I'd watch and I just wouldn't understand, not even just the result of certain possessions, but the process of it.
Yeah.
It would be one pass, ISO ball, huck up a bad shot. And it's just like you have guys I do like Jalen Green, but there was so much of a burden on him last year. I do like a guy who I want to have more involved in the offense just because of how dynamic he is Sengun, Alfred Sengun. It just felt like they weren't involving him that much, and they didn't have a guy who was orchestrating their offense, and they didn't have much structure to it. It wasn't there wasn't much structure at all, and it was just mind-boggling to me whenever I watched them. They have talent,
yeah,
but it wasn't being used the right way. Jabari Smith had an incredibly uneven season. I didn't think it helped at all that he, as a guy who wasn't the best shot creator or ball handler out of Auburn, he was put into a situation where it wasn't being set up for him. No one was making his life easier, so to speak, other than maybe Sengun. And that was just a difficult part about this season. It was just so tough to watch from a process standpoint.
Yeah.
I talk about process over results. The results were bad, but it's not I can look at it and be well, the process was decent. It wasn't decent at all on both ends of the floor, specifically offensively. But it was awful. It was simply awful.
Yeah, that's one way to put it in. Like you're saying, this offseason, a lot changed. I'm going to start before we hop into some of the roster stuff because obviously finished with the second worst record in the NBA, tied with the Spurs for that, lose out on Victor Wembanyama. There's all that draft bummer for them, but still got a good pick there. But new head coach. They fired Stephen Salas after the season, brought in Ime Udoka, who was coaching the Boston Celtics most recently, I want to say. But do you like that hiring? Or what are your thoughts on that?
I mean, off-court stuff aside, I feel. I mean, I'm not one that should be speaking on it, but off-court stuff aside, which is should be very important when you're hiring someone. From a basketball sense, I think this is a good hire.
Yeah.
He's a no-nonsense. Just cut the bullshit. I'm going to tell you like it is, and I don't care what you think about it, type coach. And I thought when he was in Boston for that 1 year, he developed good relationships with the players. The players like Tatum, Brown, whomever, they all respected him. And I thought he's someone who's kind of like a player's coach in that sense, but he's not afraid to be the asshole in the room when he needs to be. And I think that's someone that Houston needed. And so just from like a basketball perspective, from like a coaching perspective, I think this makes all the sense in the world.
Absolutely. And especially with such a young roster like the Rockets do have.
Without structure.
Yeah, exactly. They need
Without structure. Last year.
Because there's 7, 8 guys who are 22 and younger, a couple guys at 24. So it's, I mean, majority of their team is 24 and under.
Yeah.
Age-wise, which is absurd to think. They are such a young team. And like you're saying, they had no structure the last few years, and it was kind of just chaos ball. And hopefully that's something that Ime can bring in, is that structure. He's coached good teams in the past, knows what it takes mentality-wise to have a winning team. And that's something he could bring on these Rockets because they have the talent. They have the individual talent. It's just turning that individual talent into finding a better thing for the team and all working together and getting it done that way. I can see them improving at some point. I do think it starts with the coach, and I like this hiring. But what else happened this offseason? Because a couple players came in. Let's just put it out.
Well, let's just say they had a lot of money, and they're like, here, take this money. We want you to be on our team. They were spreading the dollars a little bit. No, they got Fred VanVleet from Houston on a 3-year deal. They got Dylan Brooks, who I know everyone kind of hates. I think he's underrated.
I love Dylan.
Just based on the public perception of him now compared to previous years. I know Jackson's favorite player, Dylan Brooks. They got Jock Landale, who was a backup center in Phoenix. I mean, they got guys like specifically VanVleet and Brooks, who again kind of fit the mold of like the no nonsense. I'm just going to tell it like it is. I'm going to hold you accountable type guys and type leaders who they need like veteran presences in the locker room who like if someone's screwing up, they could pull them aside and like just tell them like, yo, like don't do this. Like we got to stick together. Like you got to this, that, and the other thing. And so like those are two good signings, even though, yes, they did pay him a lot of money. They had plenty of cap space. You have to get to a certain mark cap wise. And so like you had to give out money somewhere. The draft, I think they absolutely nailed.
Yeah.
Like Amen Thompson. I'm personally very high on the Thompson twins. I just love their athletic ability. Amen specifically is one whose vision is just absurd. Like he's just an absurd passer. Defensively, off the ball, on the ball. These guys are like 6'6", 6'7", lengthy guards / wings, but guys who they just glide on a basketball court, and they're very good defensively. They have very good instincts, both on and off the ball. And so I think they absolutely nailed that part of it for a team who was one of, if not the worst defensive team in the league last year. Getting a guy like Dylan Brooks, who's one of the best perimeter defenders in the NBA, getting a guy like Fred VanVleet, who I know he's lost a step or two at the point of attack, who wasn't that great defensively last year relative to expectation, but someone who can absolutely defend at the point of attack. And then you get a guy like Amen Thompson in the draft who, again, could guard multiple positions, both on and off the ball, and obviously fell out his frame over time, but a guy who's competitive defensively. And I think like when you have a front court like Şengün, who isn't the best defender, or like Landale, who is competitive defensively, he's not necessarily great there. It just kind of fits in, but that also just like you put all that next to Jabari Smith Jr., who is a very good multi-positional defender, and you have a head coach who, again, keeps guys accountable, and you guys have guys like Whitmore, or I didn't even talk about Cam Whitmore. Cam Whitmore, a guy who was a projected like top 5 pick, and they got it like 20. Like it was, and whether that's because of the knee injuries or bad interviews, whatever the case is, like this is a guy who also very raw athletically, and a very good offensive player. And he has tunnel vision, but he can still score at multiple levels, and he still was awesome in summer league. And so like when you have like these guys who are athletic, like Whitmore, like Thompson, like Tari Eason, like Jabari, at least Jabari relative to size, like Jalen Green, like you have guys who you can work around here. And I think that they have like a good core, good structure, or at
Absolutely.
least a better structure now than what they did at this time last year. Much better. Much.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and I mean, you brought up like the Dylan Brooks and the Fred VanVleet aspect of being that veteran leader there. That's why I love the Jeff Green signing as well.
Right. Yep.
Because Uncle Jeff, as he goes by now, he's been there. He's been in the league for so many years. He's done so much, and that was a big thing he did in Denver. Was when he got there, still a lot of younger, kind of not necessarily immature, but not super mature guys at times. Mentors him up, tells him how it is, gets him in the right mindset, and that's something I could see him doing at Houston, and it being very, very beneficial. Because, as you just said, the amount of raw talent this Rockets team has from all these young kids is absurd. There's no reason they can't be a future playoff contender, and don't want to get carried away and say a title contender, but with the talent they have, maybe in years, maybe down the line, if everything works out, maybe they are challenging for the top 3 or 4 seeds in the West and trying to make a run to the title. I think it might be asking a little too much right now. Need to get some more, see what happens on the court, but this is where it starts. Having everyone there, getting a good core, like you said. I'm excited for Amen Thompson.
I'm so pumped for Amen.
He's gonna, from everything I've seen from him at Overtime Elite and just watching other highlight packages, he looks like he could be the real deal. And getting him at 4 feels like a steal as well, considering the guys who were drafted above him are all arguably top in the draft.
Yeah.
Getting him at 4 is kind of lucked out for the Rockets in that way. And getting Cam Whitmore at 20 was also an absolute steal. Could potentially be the steal of this draft as of now, but
and there's plenty of guys, like I'm not going to go into like all the specific names, but like Keontae George and like guys like that who at least have shown that they will probably be rotation guys from day one.
Yeah.
The fact that you're getting like a guy who was, again, a projected top 5 pick, maybe top 10 pick, depending on like what mock draft you're looking at or whatever around that time, and you get him at least 10 to 15 spots later than you expected to. A guy who, again, you can just like who is raw athletic, like who's just like an athletic player, and a guy who is a good offensive player. Yeah, again, you're going to need to work some playmaking into that. You're going to need to work some team basketball, but like the raw talent is there, and he's got size, like he's strong. Like that just speaks to how much that I think they hit this. I mean, yeah, like with Amen, the outside shot will come. I think it's like I've seen clips throughout this preseason, and it looks a lot smoother than it did pre-draft, which is a very, very good sign. I don't know what the exact percentages are, even though it's a small sample, but it just looks like it's encouraging to see him knocking down shots with a much smoother release without much of a hitch to it, and it just flows better. And like if you can get that, then we're talking about like a home run of a hit. But again, you still got to play the games. You still got to see the rotations, see how this ultimately plays out. But I'm very high on this Rockets team.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. And I love the Dylan Brooks acquisition. I know people hate him for his whole trash.
Yes. Come join the club. Join the club.
I love that aspect of sports. I always like trash talking people. And he says how it is. He's kind of like a real one. Sure, he kind of fell apart for Memphis in the playoffs last year and wasn't exactly hitting his shots. But even seeing him do it with Canada, he's out there for 2 things: talk trash and shut down your best offensive threat.
And take ill-advised 3-pointers with 17 seconds left in the shot clock.
Absolutely.
That's something you're gonna have to live with.
Yeah.
And also kicking people in the nuts. But that's the bad. That's the bad side.
An aggressive defensive. No. But no, I mean because that's kind of the way I enjoyed playing at least basketball. I couldn't shoot all that well, but I loved playing the defense and being aggressive and kind of the trash talk aspect. So I love seeing Dylan Brooks do that. It's just fun. And it's a nice little change where everyone's friends with each other now at the NBA, at least all the star level. That's why I'm enjoying Giannis's comments of I could never do it with never train with other NBAers who aren't his brothers because he doesn't want to be nice to them. He wants to know their weaknesses.
I don't
Go
get
back to that stuff. Stop everyone being friends with each other. This is just a personal thing. I mean, it's kind of a little off topic, but Dylan Brooks is one that he's going to be aggressive. He's going to talk his talk and doesn't care what others think. And I think that's going to help this Rockets team greatly because as long as he can play defense and not get in too much foul trouble and not get techs and give up stupid mistakes like that, he's going to be looked at as probably the leader of this defensive unit for the Rockets and have to do a great job there.
Yeah, no, I like the more people are out on Dylan Brooks is just like the player and not like hitting people in the nuts.
Yeah.
Like I know people get a little bit annoyed about like how he operates offensively. And like I still think people underrate his defensive ability, even though like LeBron got him in the playoffs. I get it, that happens. He's done that several times to several other players.
LeBron gets everyone in the playoffs one way or another.
Right, exactly.
That's why he's been in the league for so long.
Like I'm kind of the more I'm in on like Van Vliet, Brooks, Thompson, Smith, Şengün, Green. Like I'm in on these guys. Like I've pushed my chips. I'm all the way in. I think just to jump ahead to our predictions, I have them going 35-48.
Wow,
that's 13 wins, and I'm in. I'm in, and I'm okay if I'm wrong.
Okay.
I am so far in on this team because it's just like I think that stuff matters, and maybe I know I'm probably being too ambitious. Like I get it, I got it. I'm probably being too ambitious because of how deep that conference is, but I don't have them making the plan. But I just think they improve so like they have the talent and they have the pieces to put it together. There's obviously going to be some bumps in the road, but guess what? When there's bumps in the road, they have guys to correct that. Yep. And guys to get them over that hump. Guys who are leaders and will set that culture straight, at least on the court. But like I'm in on this team. I'm all in. I'm more than okay with accepting that. I'm more than okay with being a little too ambitious. I'm usually not super ambitious with this stuff because it's like the math's got to work out somewhere. Like someone's got to be bad.
But no,
Houston might be that team that's bad. But right now I have my stock in on them, and I don't think that's going to be changing anytime soon from my perspective.
No, I like the confidence in them. I think it's going to take a year and then they'll really get kicking into gear.
You're probably right.
I still have them winning 30 games this year.
Yeah.
I still think will make that at least that 8-game jump. I realistically wouldn't be surprised if they go 35 because I think they're better than the Spurs overall. I think they're better than maybe like Portland and Utah, and who knows what's up with Dallas. They're just an interesting team, but I agree. I think it'll be I have them going 30 and what does that give it?
30 and 52.
30 and 52, yeah. Math. It's been a long day, but 30 and 52. I have them missing out on the play-in as well, but I'm just excited. I think it's going to be for the first time in what feels like forever. The Rockets are actually going to be a fun team to watch play basketball.
Absolutely.
It's not going to be chaos on the courts. It's going to be kind of set up because this has been coming. It was 2019-2020 when they won their division and lost to the Lakers in the conference semis. Since then, it's been 17 wins, 20 wins, 22 wins. Been a
improvement.
3 years. Very much an improvement, but slow but surely. This year, I think you and I are both on the same page with thinking they're going to make a significant jump forward.
Yeah, that's the team I'm probably predicting has the biggest league-wide is Houston. Just because it's like, again, I just think all that shit matters. And again, they are in a tough conference. They are in a deep conference. I do not think they will make the play-in. But I would not be surprised if they were at least competitive for it.
Yeah, I could see that. I could see them being – I agree. I mean, I don't think they're going to make the play-in, but I could see them my ceiling for them is being competitive for the play-in, not necessarily making the play-in, but being competitive for it.
Yeah. But, like, Ime's not going to screw around.
No.
If that's one thing, his team is not going to – like, they might get off to a slow start, like because they're still trying to figure stuff out, and they still might tinker with the
That's
rotations,
yeah.
which is fair when you have a new team with new players coming in at multiple different positions. But I still think they'll figure it out, and like I think this team will be just such a pain in the butt sometimes to face every night once they figure it out. Like when January and February comes, like I just think this team will be just like such a like you go to Houston on a back-to-back or something, and it's just going to be just complete nightmarish for the opposing team.
I mean, that's something I'm looking at their schedule at the moment, and interesting to me. They start on the road at Orlando, at San Antonio, which those are two games that can very much measure how you are against these other teams you were fighting with lottery picks for. Then they have 7 home games in a row. Starting the season with 7-game homestand could honestly be a huge benefit for these guys.
7 of their first 9. Yeah.
Who's
the 7, if you don't mind me asking?
So it goes Golden State to end up October, then Charlotte, 2 against Sacramento, the Lakers, Pelicans, and Nuggets before going back on the road. So
they can go 3-4, 4-3.
Yeah. And I mean, even then, it's just building up the experience, playing together at home. Your home crowd will be behind you, so it's not like you're traveling all that much.
Yeah.
I think it's a great thing for them. But
I just wonder how many of these games would be like on back-to-backs or something like that for these other teams, not just for Houston.
Yeah. Seeing for Houston, none of these are actually back-to-backs at all. It's pretty much like every other day. But I'm sure it will be for some of these other guys.
So, like, would it be crazy if they got out to like a 5-4, 6-4 start? Like they're off to a good start.
I really don't think it would be, because I mean, I think
it's not crazy.
Just going through this, I can see them beating Orlando, San Antonio. I'll give them a loss to Golden State because I don't think they're quite up to that level yet. No matter how the Warriors are, still Steph and Clay, it's hard to knock them. I could see them beating Charlotte, splitting one with Sacramento, like one of the two, because that's back-to-back. Lakers, I could see them beating. I don't know if they will. And I could see them beating the Pelicans, lose to the Nuggets. So if that all happens, they'd be exactly 5-4, 6-3, which not a bad start for a team that only won 22 games last year.
Listen,
you're over a quarter of the way. You're almost a third of the way there.
Well, I mean, for 10 games over 82, that's not next. You'd have to get to like 20 before it's a 4.
No. I'm saying they're almost a quarter.
Oh! I thought you were talking about like a quarter of the way through the season. I was like, not yet.
No, quarter of the way through their win total from last
Got it. Yeah. All right, a little bit of a misunderstanding to close this off.
It's been a day. But Matt, you have anything else you want to say on the Houston Rockets before we kind of wrap this one up?
I'm just gonna say I'm all in. I'm all in. Whether it's this year, I'm all in. I'm planting my flag. And I'm hoping it doesn't it's probably gonna blow away in some like Houston, Texas tornado or something. I don't know. I'm planting my flag though.
Hey, love to hear it. The confidence from Matt on the Houston Rockets here is great to see. Matt, it's been a pleasure as always. Thank you guys, the viewers, for watching this episode. Houston Rockets. Make sure you check out on Vendetta Sports Media's YouTube channel all of our other NBA previews. Got 30 teams, 30 previews. Make sure you watch every single one of them in preparation for the tip-off on Tuesday. Man, NBA season's around the corner. I can't wait. Matt, I know you can't wait. Let's get it going. Thank you guys again for watching. See you next time.